Well, a very good evening, everybody, for Saturday, the 21st of June, 2025, the longest day. It's great to be back doing a briefing again for this, our 5th year of running this event. So, the synoptic picture at the moment, high pressure is starting to decline out into the continent. We're left with sort of this slack area, but as the heat is so high, we're starting to draw a bit of instability down from the south. And you can see that with the trough just in the Bay of Biscay, which at midnight here is continuing to track towards the UK and will bring some thunderstorms probably for western parts of the country, maybe the odd shower in our area, though it looks like it'll be mostly confined to height. As we go through into the middle part of tomorrow, a upper cold front is starting to decay as well. It's still moving across the country, which again is why these thunderstorms are likely to trigger off. But out into the Atlantic, looking a little bit more unsettled. So probably Saturday being the peak of the heat, something like 34 degrees or so. I will say that is still a few degrees lower than what we had when I was working at Lasham in 2022, when we had 36 degrees. But anyway, on to the rainfall radar for tomorrow. And most of it is looking like it's generally going to be at height, as you can see here. A few splishes and splodges, nothing to really get too concerned about. Nothing more than a brief shower. Looking generally at the public forecast then, from about midnight onwards, you can see we've got generally clear skies. As we have that sort of trough line not too far away and also some other fronts, there will be some upper level clouds, which you see on here, but there is quite a low humidity figure, which means cloud base should not be an issue. As I said, the outside prob 30 chance of rain, but generally quite a muggy night. So yeah, a bit tricky to get to sleep. Good, we're getting up at 3 in the morning, but with 18 degrees being the minimum temperature, and as you can see there, it'll get up into the mid to high 20s, probably into the early 30s. Visibility looking good, and our wind for tomorrow at the surface level, and it will become quite important at the moment why the surface level is different to upper levels. Generally east-southeasterly to southeasterly, sort of 6 to 8 knots or so, with a bit of gust once we start seeing the sun above the horizon as the air starts to mix. So on to the all-important balloon forecast, which is what we generally use at this time in the morning. It has been, for the last few years, our main resource to deal with the low-level inversions that we get at this time of the day. Given the amount of heat which the ground takes in at this time of year, it dissipates at night. We get quite a temperature gradient, which means that whilst it might be sort of 18 degrees on the ground, as you can see there, at 1,000 feet, it's actually 23 degrees, which is a little bit unusual for what we're normally used to as glider pilots. What this means is we do see quite a strong wind gradient today, a little bit of wind shear too. So starting off with probably around 5 knots on the ground from the east-southeast, but very quickly increasing up to 16 knots at 500 feet, followed by potentially 25 knots at 2,000 feet or 1,000 feet. So that we need to bear in mind. We have had this happen on longest days before. It's nothing unusual. Crosswind, not ideal, but thankfully for the operation that we're going to use today, we'll be able to offset for that wind. So with that in mind, we just need to be quite careful as we're going up the winch launch, not to be pulling back too hard. There may be some speed fluctuations. And as we come into land, just making sure we have appropriate approach speeds. The effort operation then, so as I say, we've got declining high pressure with this continental air mass, this tropical continental air mass, and the risk of high level instability. You might see cumulus clouds in the morning at sort of like 10,000 feet or so. Unfortunately, you can't go and saw those. It will generally be the marker of potential thunderstorms later in the day. But this wind gradient is really important. I do want to major on it. I am going to say that qualified pilots only, it's pilot in command until at least 5 a.m. That wind gradient forecast is open to some interpretation. That's only the Met Office's view. There are other forecasters out that say slightly less is possible. So hopefully we're working with a worst case scenario there. But it may be possible that we do need 60-knot approach speed despite the low surface wind on the ground. So always more speed in hand is good. Our airfield setup, we will use 09. Unless the crosswind does appear to be excessive, in which case we can look at 1.6, but I would prefer to use 0.9, and I'll show you the offset in a moment with the winch near the GHC. Correction as required. It won't be needed probably for the first few 100 feet, but probably as you get towards 1,000 feet, just lay off a bit so that the winch driver doesn't have to get too concerned. As always, don't land or taxi aircraft on the disused runways shown in red. Keeps the tyres in good nick. There's no movements at this time of the day, thankfully, and NOTAM-wise, there's not too much other than Bharat and Stacey at 27. There are a couple of other sort of NOTAMs for later in the day, but that's generally for the day group to brief, as you're not going to be venturing too far away from the airfield. But yeah, there is some activity around the Isle of Wight and into the Solent, as well as in the Salisbury Plain training area. I'll be the duty instructor for most of tomorrow's early morning shift, though I might delegate to Sam Cool so I can sneak away maybe for an hour or so in a motor glider, get some photos of the coast. And on to the setup. This is going to be the setup. We'll have the winch offset to the south, generally around where the GHC is. That operation works quite well, tried and tested. Still with a bit of correction, that'll work nicely too. Aero towing, we won't be doing that this early in the morning. So yeah, everything operating off the grass launch point on the runway. And yeah, just bear in mind for your circuit patterns that you need to take into account where that wind is coming from. Maybe better to be on the upwind side. We do have to switch to 1.6 at all during the morning, and I hope that that isn't necessary. Then we'll stick the winch down the bottom end, not too far away from the human-powered flights, people, so do keep an eye out for them. I know they do get up early, but on this occasion, it will be our airfield for the entire day. And yeah, we would be launching from just to the north of the main runway down to the southeast, and yeah, could land both sides there. But that operation is a little bit more sort of difficult to manage, especially early in the morning. So we're going to try and use 09 initially, and we'll take a view on it as the day goes on. So just looking at the plan for tomorrow then. Appreciate it's an early morning start, but that's the point of it. Meeting at the hangar for 3:30 local. If we could prioritise getting the first 4 two-seaters out, that just means we can get A up and away at 4:19 in the morning. No case for rushing daily inspections though. Please make sure these are done with positive checks carefully in the hangar with the floodlights on, which stay on now, which is good. Risk of misting canopies. The humidity figure is actually reasonably low actually for this time of the night, given the amount of heat in the atmosphere, but it doesn't mean there might not be some phenomenon that gets it, and especially given we've got inter-sun landings, that is a consideration. As always, for the longest day, we'll fly on a first-come, first-served basis, other than the first launch, which Sam and I will take, as we've been running this event now for several years. And that first launch will be taking place at 4:19 local, the last launch at 21:51. As always, very sensible. Don't stay on the airfield all day. It's not actually going to be that great of a soaring day looking at it anyway. We will hand over to the day group at 9 a.m. A few of us will come to help out with the evening group, which is the Lasham Juniors. We'll be keeping out there as best we can, at least as the weather allows, right up until 21:51 for the last launch. There will be reduced flying fees as per the email to members, so do double check on that. That comes to a halt at 8:30. No power flowing, please, until 7 a.m. Just keeps the neighbours happy, and no circuits till 8 o'clock in the same manner. So it leaves me to say, look forward to seeing you on the airfield tomorrow. Bye for now.